Hello, everyone. I'm Jess Ramos, also known as Jess Ramos Data on social media, and I am an ex-corporate data analyst turned full-time entrepreneur. I'm a top leader in the B2B marketing space in tech and a top voice on LinkedIn. I'm a content creator with 450,000 followers across my social media platforms, where I make content every single day on tech, data, and AI. My goal is to take these very complex and technical topics and make them easily digestible and accessible for everybody. As a founder myself, I've been able to sit down with a lot of other founders and observe how they're making all of these big, important decisions every single day. And one thing I've noticed is that the quality of our decisions isn't just about experience and intelligence. It's also about the conditions that we're working under, how focused we are, how tired we are, and whether our environment supports clear thinking or not. And that's one of the reasons that I connected with BenQ's Light Meets Insight program and the idea behind the BenQ Screen Bar Halo 2. It's not about working more or faster, it's about creating an environment that helps you think better when it matters most. Today, I'm joined by Jen Palmer, and I'm really looking forward to having an honest conversation about decision pressure and leadership and what it actually takes to stay clear-headed while building something meaningful. So hello, Jen. Welcome. To start, could you introduce yourself and share a little bit more about what you're building today?
Hi, Jess. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. So my name is Jen Palmer, and I am the founder and CEO of JPalmer Collective. We're a commercial finance firm. We're based in New York, and we provide asset-based lending to companies that fall outside of the traditional bank credit box. Most of our clients are strong businesses. They're growing fast, they're scaling quickly, or they've had a tough year or two, and they no longer fit the traditional bank's model. Traditional banks always are looking for companies that fit right in, a small box, but we work with companies that are high growth and they have imperfect stories, and that's where we come in. So at JPalmer Collective, we see ourselves as a finance partner. We're not just a lender. We spend time with our clients, we visit them, we understand their businesses because we believe that the context matters. And what's especially important to us is who we're backing. So we have committed that at least 51% of our portfolio will be female-owned, female-led companies. And 51% will be companies that are mission-driven, consumer brands that are focused on sustainability, impact, or doing business a little bit more thoughtfully than others. At the end of the day, we're building a firm that helps founders grow without losing themselves in the process. No dilution with working with us.
Wow. Well, it definitely sounds like you're doing a lot of really cool, meaningful work, but I can only imagine the big decisions that you're having to make daily. So before we dive a little bit deeper, I want to talk about some shared language. So in business, a lot of times we hear the term decision pressure. When you hear that phrase, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, when I hear decision pressure, I think about the moments where you're tempted to react instead of reflect. For me, it shows up in a few different ways. One is a knee-jerk decision, making a call quickly just because everything's feeling very urgent. Another is deciding when your gut isn't actually aligned, but you push forward anyway because you feel like you're supposed to have an answer. And probably the most dangerous is the third, and that's making a decision from fear. Fear of losing momentum, fear of disappointing people, or fear of getting it wrong. And I've learned that when fear is driving the decision, it's almost always cost you more later.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I really love one of the words you said. You said urgent. So when your calendar is super packed and everything feels urgent and super important, what does that pressure feel like and how do you prioritize things?
It can feel so overwhelming. There's days when I'm double, triple booked, and I can feel the anxiety creeping in. And I just keep thinking, how am I going to juggle this all? It's just actually not possible. But when that happens, I just try to ground myself. I look backwards instead of forward. I remind myself that I've been here before and I got through it. One really practical thing I do as well is I keep a spreadsheet, and it's literally called stress. I write down everything that's weighing in on me. And next to each item, I force myself to write down what I can actually do about it. So even just putting down on paper what is giving me stress gives me back a sense of control. And once it's out of my head and it's onto the page, the anxiety immediately drops. And then I just start checking things off that list one by one as I tackle the item.
Wow, that's really good advice. I'm definitely taking notes over here as a young female founder, and I'm also a big fan of spreadsheets. So that's a really awesome tip. So early stage founders are often told to move fast because time is so important. You want to make quick decisions. You don't want to waste time. But how did you learn that slowing down was actually the smarter move?
I've learned that slowing down is definitely the smarter move, but honestly, I learned it the hard way. Just the other day, I sent an email to a potential client. There really should have been a phone call. And they called me out on it, and they were 100% right. I owned it, I apologized, and it was a reminder that even years after the experience, pressure can still push you into shortcut decisions. So taking you in just a moment to pause, get perspective. Leaders always do better. It's always a better outcome if you just take a breath. Slowing down doesn't mean losing momentum. Most of the time, it just means protecting a relationship.
A lot of times in business, we're always talking about mindset and strategy, but there's less talk about the surroundings and physical environment that you're in. How much does your environment influence how clearly you think and make those hard decisions?
I get my clearest moments when I'm out of the office. It's usually when I'm on vacation, even if it's just a short getaway, like a 24-hour, get out of town. Shifting out of the work mode and back into life mode brings clarity. Another moment for me is right before I fall asleep. I'm calm, relax, I'm centered, and priorities become clearer. Changing your scenery, it isn't time away from leadership. It's often where you get your best thinking.
I'm in total agreement with that. I'm a huge fan of obviously vacation, but also workations where I can just go somewhere cool and work and clear my head. So, how do you create space for that? Like when your calendar's booked, you have all these meetings, all these things on your to do list. How do you actually create space to go to a different location and protect your calendar?
Well, I work from home a lot as well. And I like that too, but you're right. You have to create space. So there's days when, I'm nonstop from 8 to 11. And that can even be those days when I'm working from home and I have absolutely no space to think. So I've got to balance those days. I've got to protect my time at other times, and I have to create that time for reflection. Some of my best work does happen on the weekends where I can focus just deeply on one project or, a special item that I've, been saving, and I just really need no distractions. So leadership's about creating a rhythm, and that allows both execution and thought to coexist.
And when you're not able to actually go take that vacation you so desperately need or go work somewhere cool to clear your mind, are there any like small changes that you can make while you're at home, working from home, just to kind of slow things down and make things feel a little less chaotic?
Well, when I work from home, I like to make sure that I have two places where I'm working from throughout the day. I want to bounce between those two places just so I can change my energy. The space always has to be clean. Clutter distracts me. The lighting is very important. I love natural daylight balanced with supplemental lighting. And of course, you need good Wi-Fi. You need to make sure that you're somewhere that brings you energy. So whether it be fun wallpaper, a beautiful bookshelf, intentional furniture, you need an environment that inspires you. So then you can really clear your head and just do what you do best.
I love this. We're so similar. I have my little like nooks around my house, like different work areas, and they all have to be super clean. Like my kitchen can be a complete disaster, but I'm like, my office has to be like pristine, like no dirt, no clutter.
Yeah, you just got to be clear for your minds. I get it.
And as a leader, how do you balance moving fast while also still protecting your clarity and judgment?
That is a really good question. I think, first of all, you've got to really think about like what is urgent and what you need to tackle straight away. Some situations, they require fast decision. And in those moments, you have to trust your experience and move quickly. But a lot of times things feel urgent when they really aren't. So even taking 10, 15 minutes just to pause, completely clear your head and change, your mindset, that can change the quality of the decision. So, I think about strategy. Strategy is something that you turn on all the time. So it's not just something that you save for when you have time. You constantly have to be thinking about strategy. So separate, what is urgent and what is strategic. And then it'll help you create that space.
Love it. Do you think a lot of founders underestimate the cost of making decisions while mentally fatigued?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Being a founder requires resiliency, which is mentally exhausting. I sometimes joke that you have to be a little bit insane to start a business. It can be very lonely. And even when you have a great support system, it can be lonely. Most decisions will fall on you, and that takes a toll. So you've got to find your ways to refill your energy. And for me, it's actually reconnecting with my why, spending time with my clients and my team. That's what recharges me.
Wow, that's so reassuring for me to hear if I'm feeling lonely and fatigued at times. I guess I'm doing something right as a founder, so really good to hear
Yeah,
that.
keep going.
Do you have any personal learning experiences you'd like to share where maybe you made a decision too quickly, or maybe you were too mentally fatigued and really needed a break at the time, and you really learned from that experience to slow down in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I just mentioned just last week, I sent an email. It should have been a phone call. And, unfortunately, just a small decision like that can actually have grave implications. And, it just reminded me to just, reset. And fortunately, it didn't there. I owned my mistake and we moved on. But there have certainly been bigger decisions where, I should have just taken a breath and made a different decision. Or I felt rushed into a decision as well. So there have been decisions that I made. For example, we went into a relationship that we probably shouldn't have because I felt pressured to do so, and that's not worth it. That's not good for anybody.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you talked about how you have to be a little bit insane to start a business, and building something meaningful often comes with a lot of trade-offs that people don't always see because these are happening so quickly and behind the scenes. What are some of the hardest choices that you've had to make as a founder to get to be where you are now?
Yes, life behind the curtain, never as glamorous on the other as it is on the other side. The hardest trade-off, hands down, has been time with my family. My family has sacrificed more than anyone. I have 4 daughters, and leaving my daughters to go to the airport, the tears and the goodbyes, the sobbing in the car on the way to the airport. Those moments are excruciating. And I do have a goal or a rule, if you will, that I won't leave my family for more than 4 nights at max. But there was a trip where I had to go to Australia. I was gone for over a week. I was on the other side of the world from my young children. And that was very, very difficult. Each day was a struggle that I was gone. And that experience, really clarified that success, cannot come at the expense of presence. But you do have to make sacrifices along the way. And most of the time, it's the people at home, your team, your village that are holding it all together while you're gone.
Yeah, I definitely have felt that too with all the travel lately. I don't have kids. I have 5 pets though, and I'm usually the one crying at the airport. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I have to leave. And then I get there and I'm like, okay, I know I made the right decision by being here. I'm having fun. I'm meeting so many cool people and growing my business. So, how did you know that you made the right choice to go to Australia? Was there like an aha moment where you were like, okay, this was worth it, even though I had to sacrifice?
Well, it was to go see a client, and that's the best part of the job. Spending time with our clients is really what motivates me and reminds me what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So it was an amazing trip, and I wanted to be there. I just wanted to be in 2 places at once.
Yeah, that is so, so hard. Many founders feel guilty for slowing down or taking a step back. What would you say to someone who is feeling that right now?
I know these founders. I'm one of them. And the reality is that when you create a company, the business becomes an extension of you. So stepping back can feel like a loss. My goal is actually to move from working in the business to working on the business. And that'll give me a better quality of life and empower my team. So although I can feel victim to feeling that guilt as well, I remind myself there should be no guilt in it. Actually removing yourself from the business, that's a reward for your own hard work as well as for your team. And they deserve the opportunity. And without you, only if you step back can they grow and they can really come into their own.
Totally. I love that last part you just said. All right. Well, thanks for all these amazing insights, Jen. Is there anything else that you would like to share with everybody about what you're building or how you approach decision making?
A lot of people ask me, like, why did you go into business for yourself? Like, how did you know it was the right choice and what led you to that decision? And I always just say it was so clear. It almost like wasn't even a decision. I just did it. I knew it was the right choice because we're building something that truly matters. Our mission is to make financing more inclusive, and that can impact countless lives. So, I spend my days with people who've taken a chance on me and they've committed to this journey. So although I didn't think twice about starting JPalmer Collective in the beginning, I knew it was in my bones to do this. It doesn't mean that there's not difficulties along the road, but I just lean into, the job. I lean into the commitment. I spend time with my clients. I spend time with my teams. And I'm constantly reminded that what we're doing is special. And, it's a privilege to work with the people I work with.
Totally. I feel like that's the case for a lot of founders. People don't really make the decision to start a business. You just kind of end up doing it and you're like, wait, how did I get here? And then you just keep going with it.
So true. Yeah. Thank you for that. It's a good reminder.
Well, thank you so much, Jen, for being here today. If people want to find you or learn more about you, where can they find you?
jpalmercollective.com.
Awesome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jess, so much for having me. This was so much fun.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to learn more about the BenQ Light Meets Insight program, the link is in the description below. So go check that out. And we'll see you in the next interview. Bye.